Welcome back to Eliances Heroes, where heroes in business align. To be part of our super community and find out more about Eliances, visit www.Eliances.com. Now, back to our super host, David Cogan, founder of Eliances.
I'm a loving life. I mean, we just started off the show with the winners of the Rising Tycoon Young Entrepreneur who come out and are creating solar mower. We just had the co-founder, get this, of Priceline.com, Jeff Hoffman, who's also recently was with Richard Branson, who we recently had on our Eliances Heroes show. But it just, again, always gets better. We have a super unique hero today on our show. Your clue, crossing over. Over the last 3 decades, he's helped thousands with his ability to predict future events and communicate with those who have crossed over to the other side. He's had a TV show, Crossing Over, on Sci-Fi Network. He's psychic medium John Edward. Now, John, please explain how psychic medium actually works.
Thank you, and what a cool show to be on. Thank you so much for having me on. As a psychic, I have the ability to tune into energy and talk about what's happening in a person's life, what's coming up for them, things that have happened in their past, and projected future. And then the mediumship aspect is where I have the ability to connect with people who have crossed over, their loved ones and friends who are in the spirit world, and kind of bring through validations and messages to let them know that life and love are eternal and how that our friends and families who have crossed over are still with us.
Now, do you have to be in the same room with them, or what information do you need to be able to do this?
I do not have to be in the same room with people, and no medium needs any information from anyone to be able to do a reading.
And
it should just be the information coming through from them.
Fantastic. And you could reach John Edward by going to johnedward.net. Now, John, everyone at some point in their life has lost someone who they care about and yearn for the ability to somehow stay connected to them. We received so many requests from people who, when they found out you were coming on our show, want to get in touch with their loved ones. What perhaps is some secret tips or advice or things that they can do, maybe through you or whatever, to offer them?
Well, this is going to sound completely crazy, but I'm going to tell you to buy a book that has nothing to do with me. It's a book that's called Hello, like Hello, Hello from Heaven, and it's written by Bill and Judy Guggenheim. It's about 21 years old now, if I remember correctly, and they studied over 7,000 case studies of people who have had after-death communications directly with their loved ones and friends who've crossed over. They categorize them, they put different chapters together, and the reason why I support this book 100% is because there's not a psychic or a medium in it, and it shows everyday people that when they read the book, hey, wait a minute, I, too, have had a similar experience. I, too, have had that. That means I, too, have made that connection. And I think that we live in a society where TV and movies and things have made the subject matter larger than life, and people are busy looking for the big billboard in the sky message as opposed to the subtlety of how energy really works. So, Hello from Heaven by Bill and Judy Guggenheim.
And again, we're talking with the psychic medium, John Edward. You could reach him at johnedward.net. He also is on tour, so you could see some dates. And John, a very important question, hope you can help answer this, is what do you see as the future of the world? What's your outlook on it?
What do I see as the future of the world? Well, that's a pretty big one. I could tell you in the immediate future, I kind of feel like energetically, globally, there's an energetic tsunami. Tsunamis aren't always a positive thing. There's usually a couple of waves that are connected to it. You know, there's the immediate pullback of the ocean. Then there's the thrusting forward of the water that hits landfall and does a little bit of negativity. And then there's the pullback where it kind of pulls back into the ocean, and then we're left to rebuild. So I kind of feel like that's a really negative statement. However, the reality is I don't think I'm shocking anybody, because if you just turn the news on or read the papers or look at social media or listen to your neighbor speak, you recognize that there's a lot of division, a lot of divisive energy, a lot of anger and hostility, and people are not they're not listening to what somebody else has to say. They're either reiterating, regurgitating, barking, or yelling. And one of the things that I said to somebody recently, because they talked politically to me, and I said, well, people are going on Twitter and social media, and they're opening a window in their house, and they're yelling things outside. I go, yelling things out your window don't affect change. That just makes you have a hoarse, strained voice. So if you want to affect change, then you have to do that from within, and that might be being your own activist. So now, I don't just talk politically here. I'm talking about relationship dynamics, right? So we are living in a time where it's a little dark, and we have to be our own lighthouse. And the lighthouse provides some level of light and solace for someone who's lost. So even though you might not agree with someone, there have been people who have outright said to me, I don't believe that you can do what you do. I want you to know I don't believe you can do what you can do. I am fascinated by the people who do believe that. Can I have a conversation with you? That's a conversation I can have because we're exploring, we're discussing, we're not debating. And I think that when you look energetically, globally, and I travel all around the world, Australia, the UK, South Africa, Canada, I'm all over the place doing this, there's common things. People grieve the same. People love the same. People feel the same. And people communicate the same. So if we are at a time, maybe astrologically, an astrologer can speak to this better than I can, where systems need to be rebooted, sometimes things need to be torn down before they can be rebuilt. Sometimes things need to be shifted before it can progress. And I think that's collectively where we are. I am a little bit more of an optimist, so I believe that humanity will come together, but I've said it recently, you can't spell humanity without the word unity.
I love it. Such worthy advice. And you're listening to Eliances Heroes. Be a hero. Go to our Entrepreneurs Align and be part of the community at Eliances.com. That's Eliances.com. And we're talking with the famous psychic medium, John Edward. And maybe he'll be coming to one of our experiences, and you may have the opportunity to also meet him. Now, how, John, can parents know, perhaps, if their children have similar abilities as you? And if so, what can they do to help develop it?
That's a great question. Let's take me off the table. Well, let's level the playing field. Let's just say that all kids are psychic. All kids are completely intuitive. And if anybody has a child that's autistic, I want you to go out and buy a book on psychic development and understand what it feels like to be a psychic. Because children who are autistic are extremely sensitive. So they're reacting to a world of sensory exploration, and they're going to process things on that level. I have a friend who's got a son who's very, very autistic, and she and I were talking at great length, and she said, You're so fascinating how you're able to tune into my son, and you're able to know how he's reacting and how he's going to, respond and how he's going to say certain things. And she's like, it's kind of, are you getting that from your guides, your spirit guides? And I was like, no, I'm actually describing myself. And she's like, excuse me? I go, everything that I'm describing to you, I'm describing to you what it feels like to be psychic. I go, except I understand how I process information. A young child who's autistic doesn't understand how they're processing the information, so they're just going to react to what it is that they're feeling. So all kids are intuitive. All kids are psychic. So it's a matter of understanding how to explain to them and validate what it is that they are experiencing or feeling. Sometimes they experience things through the channel or the lens of fear, and that's going to have one experience. Sometimes it's going to be through fascination. That's going to be another experience. So I think helping kids to understand that what they're experiencing is normal, common, and to kind of take any fear away while not making them feel like they're, super special, that they can grow up. I have two kids. I have a 14-year-old and a 10-year-old. Both of them are highly psychic, but neither one of them are, taking over the family business, let's put it that way.
All right, great. And in fact, I wanted to ask you about Justin and Olivia. What type of coaching or what do you provide to them to be able to teach them to make such an impact in their journey, in their life, in the community like you have?
Oh, I think it's my number one job is to make sure that I am kind of inspiring them to make the world a better place and to get them to look at life through an energetic lens, give them an edge, quite honestly, I'm not going to lie, give them an edge to maybe have an advantage. Like a good education is an edge, and I think a good education energetically to look at life, the way you approach things in life is important. So, that's one thing. But I'll use my daughter as an example because it's a really clear one. She, at a very young age, singing, dancing, performer kind of an energy. We wanted to channel that the right way. She's actually been very successful. She's been on Broadway. She's done commercials. She's only 10. She's on a TV show called Better Things on FX. But when she would go on what most people would call auditions, her manager and agents, they know that they're not allowed to use the word audition. So she goes on interviews and she goes on appointments. And the reason why she doesn't go on an audition, by nature of the definition of the word, implies that a third party, somebody who's not her mom or dad, is going to tell her what her value is. She's either valuable enough to get that part or she's not. Nobody's doing that. So she's going on an appointment, and they're going to interview her on that appointment to see if it's a good fit for both. And if universally, energetically, it's a good position, then that opportunity will be afforded to her. If it's not, then it's not. And one day she came back and she said, Daddy, she goes, I did an appointment. She goes, and I really, really, really wanted it. She said, but I don't think I'm going to get it. And I said, well, that's because they're looking for a square. And she's like, excuse me? I go, well, you're a circle. I go, and you're a great circle. I go, but it doesn't matter how amazing of a circle you are. If they're looking for a square, it's just never going to be a good fit. I go, so suck it up and move on. So it's like looking at life through lenses that give understanding while giving the lesson of, it's not right for you, but it's not the roller coaster of the audition world of up and down. It's the reality of, sometimes things work, sometimes they don't. I don't really subscribe to the whole theory with kids of like, here's a ribbon, thanks for showing up. I feel like there needs to be the merit of accomplishment. Like there needs to be the merit of putting the time, the energy, and the work in to be able to have the result. Because then there's a feeling of look what I've accomplished for this, and that's regardless of anything, whether it be them making their own breakfast or getting a job or having a conversation and having their point be heard.
That's great. That's great. And I need to ask you, we've got a little less than 1 minute left, and we've got a number of requests of people wanting to ask questions, and one in particular that we got quite a few is they want to know at what point was it the first time when you said, wow, I have something here, it's special, and you took note of it and said, this is something unique that others don't have?
I think that only came after I had my first reading. I was 15 and I had a reading. After I had that reading and the psychic put me on my path, I think then and only then could I say that moment came to fruition. So that's the benchmark. I could look before that and say I could reframe moments of my childhood where I could say that was psychic. But for me to have that moment where I go, wow, something is kind of going on here, like this is cool, that would have taken place after 1985 when I was 15.
Absolutely amazing. Well, John, you help thousands with your abilities to communicate with those who have passed on. You give comfort to those who feel lost or answer unanswered questions. You're a hero. Thank you for what you do. John Edward on tour and private readings. You can reach him at johnedward.net. You can also go to Eliances.com. We'll have the link to his website, Eliances.com. And thank you again to our producer, Glue, with loopydocs.com.